What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show, live here on a Friday afternoon, exclusively on the DSM-Media Philadelphia YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, if you like the content, if you want to be interactive throughout today's show or any of our shows here on the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I am one half of them this afternoon, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Yet again, another beat Dallas week. Scotty, the Eagles head to Texas to take on the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday night. We're going to be breaking down that game, the momentum heading into the game, bouncing back from the San Francisco loss. Who needs this game more? That and much, much more. And by the way, the Sixers got back on the hardwood with a win over the Washington Wizards. Joel Embiid with a 50 rack in the W. We're going to talk about that as well. They take on the Atlanta Hawks. So towards the end of the show, if you want some Sixers talk, some basketball talk, stick around for that and everything else. But my man, happy Friday. Welcome to the weekend. And how are we feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Obviously one step closer to getting the Eagles back on the field so they can right their wrongs, and that's a good thing for me. But obviously Sixers basketball on a Friday night, got a huge Friday night basketball slate. The in-season tournament's been pretty interesting this week, seeing how that's playing out, getting some decent basketball out of it. But happy Friday, man. Can't complain on a Friday.
Another weekend. Week 14. Week 14,
sir.
man. We were talking about this on Thursday, how fast the NFL season flies by, more so than any other sport, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's why each week these games in a regular season mean more than in any other sport. So let's get right into it. Obviously, you mentioned it. Can the Eagles right their wrongs? Can they fix their mistakes? Can they fix all the issues we witnessed last Sunday against the 49ers in a 42-19 thumping, right? And how can they do so? Now, keys to victory, predictions, all of that, we're going to get into Sunday night on the pregame show. So if we're not going to dive into specifics, what we're looking for in this matchup, but we do want to talk about what the Eagles need to fix heading into this matchup versus the Dallas Cowboys, Scotty. On both sides of the ball, so much needs to change from last Sunday afternoon to this Sunday night in terms of how the Eagles are going to attack the Dallas Cowboys. Defensively, right? Sean Desai, how does he come out and try to go after Dak Prescott and this high-flying offense that's on the verge of a 13 or 14 game home winning streak, right? Dak Prescott obviously did not convert, went down towards the Eagles end zone at the link, a few short weeks ago, but they were able to basically do whatever they wanted between the 20s and move the ball and protect the ball and not turn it over. How does Sean Desai change up coverage, change up philosophy, scheme? Does he bring more pressure? We're going to get into that. The Eagles on offense. The signs say it all, man. It's been a heavy discussion throughout this week. Run the football. But what does it really mean, Scotty? What does run the football to you mean? If you wrote a sign that said that and you took it down to the NovaCare complex, explain what that means, because for some reason, some people don't get it. For some reason, some media personalities, media members, other fans think that we're just being generic, that the signs, well, duh, you got to run the ball more. That's not what we're here to discuss. It's not just, oh, they only ran the ball to DeAndre Swift 6 times. He needs more carries. No. That's not what I mean. What do you mean if you were to write that sign and take it down to the NovaCare complex?
Yeah, I think it's just a style of football that the Eagles play, and you saw it a lot last season, and we're just not seeing it a lot this season. And you saw it earlier on in this season, maybe for a 2-3 game span, but you haven't seen it since. And it's not just as simple as like running the football and the amount of carries that you get and when you do it in the game. Even timeliness is a big part of it, right? Running the football on first down rather than every second down, but not just running the ball on first down. It's not even as simple as that. It's about switching it up. Maybe you run the ball first down on the first drive and you run the ball second down on the second drive. Maybe the second series of the first drive, you run the ball on second down and you pass it on first. Like, that's the point. Not being predictable with your play calling and with the run game. I think that's the biggest part that we're looking for here. And it's not just, the run game itself. It's not that we want to see tosses to the outside or a bunch of misdirection. I think it's more or less we want to see that physical footprint of the Philadelphia Eagles. When you look back at that game against San Fran, and the reason that we come out of that game saying like run the football. That's like the generic statement that you see on that sign. It's more based around us getting punched in our goddamn mouth and not being able to answer it and not being able to stop something, not being able to help the defense, right? Staying on the field longer as an offense, keeping your defense off of it when they just played 97 snaps against the Buffalo Bills. Like, that's what we're saying. That's what we're talking about when we're asking this team to run the football. It's called running the football the way the Eagles run the football.
Yeah.
That's the point here. And I think that's the point that all these beat writers are missing. They like want to get so technical with their stance against running the football. The Eagles, Swift has the 9th most carries in the league. Like, the Eagles run the ball the 5th most in the league. Like, no, that's not what we're fucking talking about.
Not at all
like,
what I'm
that's
saying.
not what we're asking them
Not
to
at
do.
all what the fuck
It's
I'm
not
saying.
that simple. And you would think, as a beat writer who has to get creative with their writing, you would think that they could see the creative and the idea response behind the statement. It's not just the statement itself. It's very simple-minded of beat writers to think that it's just run the football. But then you look at Nick Sirianni's response, and I think that's where the city, once again, we have these questions about Sirianni, how much input he has on the offense and in the game planning and the play calling. Well, this is where Sirianni reconnects with the fan base by understanding and accepting accountability. But and I think that's the difference.
But don't just whisper sweet nothings to me, right? Don't just pander to us, Nick. Okay, if you are as heavily involved in the offensive game plan week to week as the reports make you seem, then I better see an uptick and a difference in which you run the football. If I were to, I agree with everything you said. It has nothing to do with just the statement, run the football. Like you said, I get it, man. I get the Eagles run the ball, top 4th highest percentage in the league. They're just not having success at it. That's why they've gone away from it. No, bullshit. I don't want to hear any of that, because that's not what I'm talking about when I'm addressing Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson and this Eagles rushing attack. When I say run the ball, agree with you. Timeliness of the plays, okay? I want to pull my hair out when I see 1st and 10 incompletion, 2nd and 10 run. That's not what I mean. How about 1st and 10 to open up a drive? We turn around and we hand the ball to DeAndre Swift. That's part 2. When I say run the football, I mean run the football to your playmaker. Run the football to DeAndre Swift. Not Boston Scott needing 4 carries in a game. Not Kenneth Gainwell playing more snaps than DeAndre Swift. You run the football to DeAndre Swift. How about we run the football in the end zone, in the red zone, excuse me. How about when DeAndre Swift picks up a 26-yard carry to get you inside the 15, he gets the ball again inside the 15. When I say run the ball, I don't mean a quarterback draw, Scotty. When I say run the ball, I want to eliminate, not all, but I want to eliminate the high percentage of read options we run. This comment right here by Marshawn Lynch is exactly what I'm saying. Why is it that our rushing philosophy, whatever you want to call it, every single run play the Eagles have, Scotty, is an option, basically. It is Jalen in the gun, running back to his side, turn, put it in the belly, read the edge rusher, read the line, and either pull or decide to give it to him. When I say run the ball, I mean line your quarterback up under center, give DeAndre Swift a head start, turn, no decision-making, no, am I keeping it? Turn, hand, go. That's what I mean when I say run the ball. Why is everything so complicated? Why does everything have to be a read option? And do you want to know if you're going to run a read option so much? I know I'm rambling on here, man, but it's really got me pissed off this week. If you're going to run the read option so much, you would like to think there'd be some pre-snap motion within this offense, right? Scotty, do you know where the Eagles rank in terms of motion on offense? Out of 32 teams in the National Football League? Dead last.
Yep.
They ran motion 9% of the time last week. What are we doing?
Yeah.
So if I wrote a sign that said run the ball and took it down to the NovaCare complex for all the beat writers out there and the media personalities that want to clap back at the fans and think that and look down on the fans for being so generic, that's not what the hell we're talking about. It's how you run the ball, when you run the ball, and who you run the ball to.
Yeah. And I honestly, I don't even mind the read options. I think that when they're run correctly, they can be effective.
Oh, yeah.
That's also
I don't want to
Jalen Hurts,
eliminate them
man,
out of
the
the playbook.
decision-making. The decision-making of Jalen Hurts, I mean, once again, it's like you didn't turn the ball over last week, but you still had a fumble. Like, can we just have one game where the ball doesn't touch the ground out of your hands and the ball doesn't touch the opposing player's hands out of your hands? Like, that's the thing, man. That is the biggest conundrum with the fan base right now and like all the, protecting. And I'm not like going in on Jalen Hurts right now, but he simply has to be better protecting the football. Like Dak Prescott, we clowned all last season for the same shit that we are seeing. Like it can't go both ways. Like we have to be consistent with
Josh Allen. I clown consistently for the turnovers and interceptions.
It's all over, right? Like yes, we can sit here and we will point to the coaching staff and the game plan that they're putting together because there's a lot of times where this offense is hard to watch and it shouldn't be that way with the talent that they have on offense.
Nope.
But along with that, the team has to be better. There's blocks that are being missed by Jason Kelsey. There's blocks that are being missed by Jordan Mailata, right? There's handoffs being, mishandled by Jalen Hurts and Kenny Gainwell and even DeAndre Swift. And A.J. Brown's bumping into DeAndre Swift in motion on a play. Like, this is the unorganized shit that we are seeing week to week, and it's extending throughout the entire team. And I think it came into fruition last week with just that, like, when things are going like that, it's time to put your foot down and establish that identity and be physical and run the football. I'll throw this to you, though, on the other side of the ball defensively. I think going into this game, this isn't a key to victory by any means. We'll obviously go a lot more in depth on Sunday, but I think for me defensively, man, I'm going to force Dallas to beat me by running the football. Like, I'm not letting Dak Prescott beat me this weekend. Like, he's not throwing for 350 yards. He's not throwing 3-4 touchdowns at me. CeeDee Lamb is not catching 200 receiving yards against my squad this weekend. I'm going to look at the Cowboys and I'm going to say, you run the football. You be patient with Tony Pollard and you run the football down our throats. You prove that you can do that and prove that you can beat us that way. We cannot keep getting beat through the air. And to that point, I want to see a lot more 3 safety sets, man. I want to see Sidney Brown getting some snaps. He's quicker. Even if he's not the greatest in coverage, he's quicker. He can make up ground faster than a linebacker. I want to see more of that this weekend. At some point, you got to put your foot in the ground. Hopefully, Zach Cunningham, addition of Shaq Leonard, that length that everybody's talked about, hopefully that can help in the passing game as well. But I'm more focused on keeping a lot of guys out there that can move around and be versatile. And I think that comes with adding a third safety in there, man.
Yeah, listen, I wholeheartedly agree with you about the turnovers and players having to execute, right? And not missing blocks. And, we talked about A.J. Brown last weekend not sealing the edge, which could have been a first down or a touchdown on a big play. They do have to execute and they have to be better, right? But on offense and defense, I'll go back to the offense in a couple minutes here, but to pick up off of that point, that's where it comes down to Sean Desai for me. This has nothing to do with execution for my money, right? Now, is Darius Slay still the same Darius Slay of 3 years ago? Probably not. Does Shaq Leonard have anything in the tank? I don't know.
We'll see.
Does Fletcher Cox, Brandon? I don't know, right? They're not the same players. But this defense is loaded. You can't tell me that this defense is not loaded with talent. You can't tell me the side doesn't have the personnel. So when you say you want to see more 3 safety personnel, you want to see less linebackers, that's what it comes down to. And here's why. You either have to change your philosophy if you're going to allow the linebackers to play more. If you're going to put the linebackers on the field like that, you have to change your philosophy. Yeah. Because Dallas is going to exploit you the same way San Fran exploited you. Yeah. See, football, for everyone that doesn't know this, and a lot of our viewers obviously know this very simple statement, football is all about leverage, man. Football is all about skeet. So on defense, when you're playing that zone that Desai wants to run, and the Niners had the leverage over to the right side of the field, and that's where our defense is slanted to. But the last second, he slips McCaffrey out to the left side of the field. Well, now Morrow's in a position where Morrow has to go one-on-one with Christian McCaffrey on the outside. What happens when that happens, Scotty? Normally, pretty big plays happen when Nicholas Morrow is put in that position or a linebacker's put in that spot, right? As we saw last Sunday. So my point is, you either have to change your philosophy, which means more man coverage, more press coverage, allowing your playmakers to follow around stars, everything like that. Or if you want to run your philosophy of zone and letting guys just pick up who comes out of the backfield, that's where the 3 safety set has to come in, because you cannot, in good faith as a defensive coordinator, continue to put players in that position. Yeah. Honestly, man, is it Nicholas Morrow's fault that he can't cover Christian McCaffrey one-on-one on the outside?
There's not many linebackers that can.
Exactly. There's not many safeties that can either, but they have a better chance to keep up. So you either have to change your philosophy and allow those playmakers, Kevin Byard, to drop down and follow around somebody, Darius Slay to play press on CeeDee Lamb, or if you're going to continue to deploy your same old scheme, you have to tweak the personnel. Because what you're doing right now ain't cutting it, bro. Even at 10-2, it ain't cutting it.
Yeah.
So I wholeheartedly agree. It's the same thing on offense, though. Do you know what I think about this Eagles offense, Scotty? Even though we're winning games, even though we're 10-2, and even though we have all this talent on paper, you know how I feel about them at times this season? They're boring at times. And you know why they're boring? Now, obviously, getting Dallas Goedert back is going to help. Helps tremendously. Jalen's completion percentage goes up. Their run efficiency goes up. Dallas Goedert being back, he's a top 5 tight end in this league.
Honestly,
it's going to help the numbers all around. I agree. It's definitely plays a factor in what we've been seeing on offense. However, that lack of pre-snap motion, when I see people that watch the film like a Shane Haff and put out the all-22 tape and walk us through these bland, boring route concepts that Nick Sirianni has for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith at times, that's not going to cut it this week, bro. You got to find a way to change something. 9% motion ran this past week against maybe the best defense in football. My guy, you mentioned not wanting to get rid of the read option, and I don't want to get rid of it completely, obviously. But you know what would help a read option play, Scotty? Getting the defense's eyes to look elsewhere before the ball is snapped.
Yeah.
I mean, holy shit, it's a crazy concept, I know. But when you're looking at a Micah Parsons, and you're looking at a DeMarcus Lawrence, and you're looking at this Cowboys defense, you got to get them looking in different directions, man. You got to use motion before the snap. You got to move around Devontae Smith. Do something different.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that I don't know. They feel like an old school concept, don't they?
I think, honestly, man, I do think that the Dallas Goedert thing, right? Him missing, I think that was just something that we maybe just discounted a whole lot just because they were able to win some games, right? Like, you were able to beat the Chiefs and the Bills without Dallas Goedert. And maybe that just kind of misleads us in what we think of this team without Dallas Goedert, right? Like, because when I look at this team, it's not that Dallas Goedert isn't like this top 5 tight end in the NFL when it comes to receiving the ball. Like, he takes a lot of stress off of A.J. Brown and the double teams that he faces throughout a game. And I think, just a confidence level. Let's be honest. There were open guys against San Fran, and Hurts was not hitting them. Like, if you watch Shane Haff, shout out to him. We used to work with him at TPL. Great guy that, as far as analyzing the all-22, right? He puts out these clips and he narrates and lets us know what's going on in them. And there was just several possessions where Jack Stahl or even Albert O was open down the field, and Jalen Hurts, whether it's him not pulling the trigger, or it's him just not seeing it or not wanting to see it because he knows that's not Dallas Goedert, I'm not throwing it there. whatever the case may be, you get Dallas Goedert back. That gives him an
Yeah.
option. We know that he will go to Dallas Goedert.
What would be more concerning for you as far as Jalen as a pocket passer goes? What would be more concerning? Not having the trust or the confidence in your receivers to make a play, or the fact that he maybe is just missing it, not seeing it? That has to be the more concerning thing. If he's just if he just wasn't seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the more concerning thing. What I would ultimately say is that I think right now Jalen is just simply not even looking that way. And I think he knows the route. If Jalen is who we think he is, right? He knows each and every player's responsibility on that field right there. And so when he sees Jack Stoll or an Albert O, I think in your mind you see AJ Brown, you see Devontae Smith, maybe you see Kenny G, or you see DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. And he looks at those guys and he's like, well, I'm not going to look at Jack Stoll. I don't think that that's an option in this play. And Nick Sirianni also explained this week that some of these plays are not built for Jalen to be looking over at Jack Stoll on the other side of the field, that these are decoy routes. So I don't know if that is a flaw within Jalen or if that is an overall flaw within Sirianni's offense, to where he only expects the quarterback to see half the field at a time or something, or two options on one side
that's
of the
a
field,
flaw in
whatever
itself.
the case may be. That is a flaw in itself. It's a like a training wheel type of thing, in my opinion. I hope that that's not the case. I hope that that's not the case. But yeah, Jalen just has to be better with the football. You hope that adding Dallas Goedert back into the picture gives him that confidence to know, like, my tight end's running this route. He's probably going to be open with the way this defense is set up. I can trust him to make that catch.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that it is a little disheartening if it isn't the latter, right? If it isn't just Jalen Hurts missing them, but the fact that he just won't even give Jack Stoll a shot if he's wide the fuck open, like, that would honestly be worse to me. I think it would honestly be worse that he doesn't trust his teammates.
Speaking of giving someone a shot, you and I on Turf Talk last night talked about the Jets and Zach Wilson starting again for them, and just not calling a game with training wheels for him, right? Not babying him, and whether you don't want to look, but like, just if he's going to fall on his face, he's going to fall on his face. Like, he already has the team, the organization already has fallen on their face this year. You're not making the playoffs. Just call the game like you would for anybody else and see what the kid can do. Now, we don't have the full story. We have no idea how involved he was last year with how good the Eagles offense was. Maybe he was this, equally involved last year with Shane Steichen as he is this year with Brian Johnson. But what I'm going to hypothesize here is that Nick Sirianni was not as involved in the offensive game plan and offensive play calling structure last year as he is this year with Brian Johnson. And I am asking you to I know we sound like we've been complaining about San Fran more than focusing on Dallas, but it's what they need to change going into Dallas's game. I'm asking you, Nick, to take a step back. Please. If that's the case, again, I have no idea what goes on behind those closed doors. If that is the case, that he is more involved this year, like he was in the beginning of 2021, and then you have a break from him with Steichen, and then you revert back to this, take a step back and give Brian Johnson a shot. Because not only are you, if that's the case, is Nick Sirianni kind of hindering what the Eagles are doing offensively, because there'd be a lot of evidence of a lack of run game and so on and so forth with his game plan. But also, you got to find out what Brian Johnson can do moving forward, man. This dude has been slapped in the face by Eagles fans all season long. And if he's being handcuffed, if he's being babied and walked through, like the report said, it's Nick's offense and Brian kind of knows where to take it. Fuck that. No. Let him call a game. Let him come up with a game plan. If he falls on his face, at least we have our answers of what we need to do moving forward.
I mean, that sounds like a mess, anyway. Like, even if Nick Sirianni was calling the game of his life or has, like, the game plan of his life set up, there's no way that one human being is going to read a source of information and take it exactly the
and
same
deploy it.
return out of
Yeah,
it as another human being. Like, there's no way that Brian Johnson sees the offense
right.
as the game is going on exactly the way Sirianni sees it, right? Like, there's
Correct.
just no way. And so then you're sending Brian Johnson out there, whether Sirianni is like trickling down plays to him or not, whatever the case may be. If you're sending Brian Johnson out there to run somebody else's offense, that's weird. Like,
Yeah,
that doesn't correlate, and
yeah, man.
that would explain the disconnect sometimes. Honestly, it would.
It really would. I just want to. It's just like you need the answers, and we're never truly going to find out because you're never going to
Right.
hear the full truth about who's involved and how much and who's really calling the shots when it comes to play calls. But you
I
can't
think
have
another
that
thing,
because Nick, just go be a leader of men, bro. Go
yeah,
coach this team to the best of your abilities. You've taken them so far already. Your record stands for it. I don't care if you remember when he said he loved play calling before he gave it
yeah,
up to Steichen.
yeah,
I don't give a damn if you
yeah.
love it,
Let
man.
it
I
go.
don't give a damn if it's your baby. Your baby's ugly. Sorry, not all babies are cute, Scotty.
Yeah,
Nick's it's his baby's ugly then. I don't know what to tell you, bro. You got to
yeah,
give it up.
yeah. And I think, when you look at that those numbers you were mentioning earlier about the amount of motion that the Eagles run compared to the rest of the NFL,
Yeah.
in that graphic as well, you see Shane Steichen in that Indianapolis Colts offense led by Shane Steichen use a lot more motion than what the
Yeah.
Eagles did here last year. So
By the
then
way, with a lot less talent. So,
once again, what
correct.
does that tell you? That tells you that Sirianni also had a hand in things last year
Man,
as well. Maybe not as much, right? Shane Steichen's second year calling plays,
right.
but he definitely had his hand
Right,
in on
but
the
there wasn't
game
a ton of
plan,
motion. I
design
said
of
this to you the
plays.
other day, man. The issue with this Eagles offense is not that they were light years behind the San Francisco 49ers offense last Sunday. The issue with the Eagles offense was that they were light years behind the Eagles offense in 2022.
Fair
That was
enough.
the
Yeah.
problem. And to this, we talked when we were talking about Sean Desai with his whether it's his game plan or personnel and whatever, putting guys in positions to succeed. That's your number one duty as a coach. It's putting your players in the best position to succeed.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown is a top 5 wide receiver right now. Devontae Smith is definitely top 15. Creepy, he's right around there, right?
Yeah.
These guys can win one-on-one all they want. You still have to give them opportunities and give them an advantage. That's what your job is.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniels gives Tyreek Hill an advantage pre-snap all the time. Gives Jalen Waddle an advantage all the time with his motion and his disguises and everything he does in that offense. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, they give Cooper Kupp, they give, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey advantages.
Yeah.
Why do we not give these guys advantages pre-snap to put them in a position to succeed? It shouldn't just be on AJ's shoulders to go win his route and Jalen to put the ball where it needs to be, man. AJ Brown is one of the best slant receivers and yard and after the catch, runner in the league. Put him in motion. And think about what motion does, by the way, Scotty, for those of you that don't know this. You know what motion shows you when you take one receiver and run him across? For the most part, shows you whether a defense is in man or zone 95% of the time. You don't think that would probably help your quarterback out as well to fit to,
it's almost like a false confidence. It's like, well, we got the best talent in the NFL, and they do. That's why it's so frustrating. They do have the best talent in the NFL. So it's almost as if they feel they can skip steps as part of an offense in order to get what they want. And it's just not going to work out like that.
To recap, what needs to change heading into this Dallas week? Run the ball. And not in the generic fashion that some writers would state that the fans are thinking. It's running the ball in different situations.
It's just spot on. It feels like such a generic offense, man.
It's boring at times.
So generic.
Yeah. And that's a problem, man. This isn't week 2. This isn't the preseason. If your playbook's not fully open,
I heard him talking on the radio 97.5, and they were talking about, is Nick Sirianni just saving like game plans and play designs for the playoffs? And it's like, dude, what where are we at right now? Like, I get it. Like, we're 10-2. We're number 1 in the NFL, best record. But like we don't get to go through the playoffs and like we can't afford to lose home field advantage. Like you're at this point in the season, sure, early on in the season, if you feel that way, like the number 1 seed isn't the main priority, you just want to get to the postseason. We're gonna get to the postseason. That's clinched, right? We're in the playoffs. The point now is to go and get that 1 seed and get yourself home field advantage throughout the postseason, man. Like if that's the case, then that's even more. Once again, it is a what do they call it? An indictment on Nick Sirianni.
Well, exactly. You know what I don't like about that conversation, Scotty? You know what I don't like about that conversation is you're creating excuses.
Like we
don't do that. What do we preach here in
the
Philly?
Eagles are good enough.
We hold our teams and coaches and players accountable when they're not good enough, right? We're fair, but we're hard, whatever. By bringing up just the question of maybe he's not opening up his playbook.
Like, who do we think he is?
It's just creating an avenue for an excuse of why the offense looks the way it does instead of saying he and they are not good enough at the moment. This, man, you know what pisses me off? This is the point, Martian, when I say about like lining up under center and generically running the ball that way. Not everything has to be a read option. There's no play action off our run game. There's no misdirection. There's no bootlegs because everything is put the ball in the tummy, diagnose the defense, pull it or whatever. There's no play action off of that.
How about instead of like making the main purpose of the offense to get like Jalen going early, how about we just focus on getting the entire offense going? Like that's my biggest bone to pick with this team.
You don't know. Like I guess like they talk all the time.
They feel like they can
not being comfortable in situations.
They feel like they can throw Swift out on the field and just go run, finish off the game for a Swift, even though you haven't touched it the entire first half. Go finish off the game.
You want to know what kind of sicko I am and how upset I am with this team last week and what they need to change moving forward? I've been thinking about shit like this, and I'll tell you another thing. So, like, exactly though, man. Like, and what are you going to tell me? Jalen's not comfortable lining up under center and turning and rolling. You're telling me Jalen Hurts with his escapability and his threat as a runner, with the way we can establish the run sometimes. You're telling me if the Eagles were able to pop off a couple runs and Jalen turned to his left, faked the handoff, and he ran a bootleg out to the right side of the field, you're telling me that wouldn't be effective with the dual threat that he is? Miss me with that, man. You know, I'm such a sicko. This is what I was doing earlier, Scotty, with my grandfather, okay? You know how Nick likes to call the screen game an extension of the run? We love that phrase, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about your extension of the run? How about you line up in that formation, you try to trick some pre-snap stuff, right? They think, oh, here comes the screen, right? And you're going to run it. You're going to turn, and you're going to act like you're throwing that screen to Smitty, but instead, Swift's still to your right, to your backside. How about a little Patrick Mahomes-esque shit, Scotty, here? How about you pump fake the screen, and you turn, and Swift just takes it? You know what I'm saying? I know I'm sitting down. It's a little hard to visualize. I was doing it a lot better with a 2-man game earlier. But pump fake, follow through, ball still in your hand, and you're just waiting here for Swift to take it. Do something creative off of it. You can't just keep running the same play over and over again in the screen game.
But it's like, can they even afford to do like a no-look handoff? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like with the way they've been handling the fucking ball.
Hey man, they turned the ball over anyway. I'd rather turn it over trying something new than turning it over in a read option.
Something fucking different, man. I do. I feel you, man. Let me ask you this: do you think that this game on Sunday? Obviously, Marshawn Lynch mentioned they'll drop down the number 5 seed if they fuck around and lose on Sunday. Is this a must-win game? Like a must-win game to the truest extent?
No, it's not. I know emotionally we need it to be. And if you lose to that team in San Fran, who we view as a roadblocker to the Super Bowl in that fashion, and then a week later on primetime, you turn around and lose to our biggest rival in whatever fashion, you drop 2 straight, you're no longer in possession of the 1 seed or the NFC East for the time being. It's going to hurt like a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's a must-win for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's not a must-win for the Philadelphia Eagles. They would be 10-3. We would be 10-3. Our schedule's easier. Both teams would have one loss in the division. We play the Giants to if the Cowboys lose this game, the Cowboys are the team buried in trying to win the division. The Eagles aren't.
Yeah.
But in terms of a vote of confidence in this team and fan base, it's close. Yeah. This is where I'm at. Like, for the sake of our own sanity, they need to win. But if we want to take a deep breath and actually think about it logically, it is a must win for the opponent, not for our own Eagles this week. Just like last week, man. Just think about it last week. That was a must win for San Fran to stay alive for the 1 seed. It wasn't a must win for the Eagles to take the 1 seed.
So that is the one thing. So obviously, if the Eagles lose this weekend, it's a big if. They'll move down temporarily to the 5 seed, but as
in a
they finish
tiebreaker
the season out, if they both end up winning out, the Cowboys and the Eagles would move back to the 1 seed,
correct?
Because they would have the better NFC record. So
correct.
Either way, they would win. They wouldn't move back to the 1 seed. They would move back to the division leader. The 1 seed is what would be in question, and ultimately, if San Fran and the Eagles ended up winning out after that loss to Dallas,
even if the Eagles lose. As long and Dallas, let's say we lose and then both teams went out, I'm pretty sure the Eagles are still safe in the division lead because
you're talking about Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, if the Eagles lose this weekend, win out, Dallas wins out, Eagles still win the division because of the NFC record. But the 49ers, that's the kicker with the third loss. That's the one you're trying to avoid, to ultimately avoid having to root for the Ravens or one of these teams that the 49ers play down the stretch to beat them. So
I agree,
control your own destiny, you do want to win this game ultimately, but
not
is
just
it a
that,
must
man.
win?
I want to put all the conversation behind us about this team. And I know at the end of the day, even if they beat Dallas, people and the media are still going to look at the ass whooping they took to San Fran and talk about the Eagles in a negative light. Stephen A. Smith wants to talk about how it almost, rescinds the Eagles Super Bowl appearance last week. If the fucking Eagles go into Dallas and snap that team's win streak at home and beat them twice in a couple weeks and go 2-0 against them, take control of the division lead and the 1 seed again, they go 5-1 over this gauntlet that we talked about since the schedule came out. You better all change the fucking narrative. All right? Because I won't want to hear, oh, they lost to the... Yeah, they did. And we'll discuss that when they play the Niners in the NFC Championship game. But let's stop talking about the Eagles like they're not in some sort of Super Bowl contention anymore.
Yeah.
Because
man.
If they go 2-0 against Dallas, beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, beat the Bills, and beat the Dolphins, but lost to San Fran, and people want to talk about this team like that loss just means more than everything else, you're never going to change their mind ever about this team.
No,
but
I agree. A win in Dallas, ultimately, it is a huge confidence building game. That's what it is. And I feel it's not necessarily that you lose a ton of confidence if you lose, but if the Eagles win, then we know San Fran is really the only thing standing in our way from getting back to the Super Bowl. And
I agree.
I think that's the goal of the game for me, is to come out of it knowing that San Fran is our only real competition down the stretch.
I'll tell you why.
The last thing I'll say, just to finish there, man. I do think winning, like looking back on everything and looking at how AJ Brown has been kind of defended against since Goddard went down, I think we ultimately underestimated Dallas Goedert losing him during that
and
stretch.
What he does for everybody else.
And I think, overall, I think the wins against Buffalo and Kansas City are very, very underappreciated, given that we did not have our top 5.
Well, that's why, right? Because missing Goddard doesn't have the same win-loss record as missing Lane Johnson, right? So we don't look at his effect on the football field like we do with Lane's, because we've lost so much without Lane. However, when you look at the Eagles, rushing efficiency and rushing yards with Goddard versus without, you look at Jalen's completion percentage with him on the field versus off. You look at the double teams that AJ's getting him versus when Goddard's on the field. You take all of that, you wrap it up, put a bow on it, and Dallas Goedert makes a tremendous defense within this offense. And that's without even touching the ball. That's just his presence on the field. Exactly. Yeah, I'll be insufferable. I'll be insufferable Monday morning if they win.
Absolutely.
Because I won't want to hear it. Listen.
Absolutely.
Last Sunday still stings. And it stings because you lost to that team in that fashion. We all get that.
Yeah.
But if they go 5-1 over the course of this stretch, and then they could legitimately win out after this. So if they go 15-2 and went 5-1 over this gauntlet stretch, I mean, it's one of the greatest regular seasons we're ever going to witness.
Yeah, literally, quite literally. Yeah.
So, let's stop with the negativity for the time if they win. I will say this though, win or lose, because I don't think if the Eagles lost a 27-24 game by a last second field goal in Dallas, that's necessarily an indictment on their future.
Yeah.
But how the Eagles respond to last Sunday will tell me a lot about this team's makeup.
Yeah.
We love to, when they were, coming from behind and beating, Dallas and Kansas City and Buffalo, we talked a lot about their mental makeup and how mentally strong and tough this team is. And it starts with the head coach and it starts with the quarterback. Well, you got knocked to the canvas last week. How do you get up? And how do you respond this week? Again, a loss doesn't necessarily mean they didn't respond. But how you play this game, how you play the first half of this game, will tell me a lot about this team's mental makeup. Because if you come out and you allow Dak Prescott to do whatever he wants to do on the football field again, except this time they convert touchdowns, and if you don't run the football and you don't run pre-snap motion, it's the same old boring offense, and they have red zone struggles. You know what's going to tell me? A, they're not as tough as we thought. And B, you mentioned Sirianni reading the room. They can't. They can't. Because if they continue to show us all these red flags, regardless if they're 10-3, regardless if they're still in control of the NFC East division, those red flags are going to continue to haunt this team down the road, and that's what will worry me. So how they respond this Sunday, what the play calling looks like on both sides, what the physicality looks like from the players between the lines, that's going to tell me a lot about this team, much more than a win or a loss is going to. A win just emphasizes what we think about this team.
Yeah.
A beatdown tells us what is this team at the end of the day.
If they get beat down in Dallas, they're frauds. I mean, that's what that is. Let's be honest. It's not appropriate to get beat by double digits back to back.
Because did Dallas get beat down in Philly? What are you going to what's the excuse going to be? We had to play in Dallas. Well, Dallas had to play here, and they lost by 4, and they had the ball on our goal line to end the game. It was a close game. It was a great game. If you get your teeth kicked in for the second straight week on the road and at home, I don't want to. There's no excuses for that. So how they play this game, we'll see. Brett,
and if they thought this week was crazy, if Darius Slay thought this week was crazy with the media and with what Philadelphia Eagles fans,
I'll tell you what, that is one dude that better show up and make a play on Sunday night.
If he thinks it's rough this week, just lose to Dallas, lose back-to-back games to Dallas and San Fran, and watch how this city burns, man, because it ain't going to be pretty. When we talk about must-win, it might not be a must-win for the team. Mm-hmm. It's a must-win for the city, though. I will say that, because this team, the fans, I get it, and I think I'm part of it myself. I think we've become fragile and spoiled with this Eagles team to where losing, we just can't even
it's unfamiliar territory now.
And so to lose 2 in a row to San Fran and Dallas, the world will be fucking ending. Yeah. It will be. So it is interesting, man. It is
again though how they would lose this game if they were to lose would definitely play a factor.
It does. Absolutely. It does.
Like I said, you lose by, a last second field goal, you're winning by 5, but Dallas scores on a whatever. Then, okay, it's going to be a shitty loss. It's going to hurt. Now we've lost back to back. We don't control the 1 seed right now. It's all going to pile up, but it's still not the end of the world. By the way, and this guy, Nick Bosa is the ultimate. Whatever crosses your mind, bro, because now, they beat us in dominant fashion, and we beat them in the NFC Championship. We're 1-1. Both teams should just walk away and say they had great wins, but this team just won't stop. Hey, Nick, did you figure out Jalen in the NFC Championship game last year when it mattered a lot more than this win in December? No, you didn't. So, shut the fuck up.
I looked at him. I mean, at the end of the day, did he get figured out? Because he has not produced against the Eagles ever. So
I watched Lane Johnson put this dude in a body bag.
I mean, that's my thing. That's my response for Nick Bosa. Fuck off, dude. You can miss me with that. But I will say, this game against Dallas, man, I think the reason I am as we were talking through it, I am starting to pencil it in as a must win in my head, is because I think we're better than Dallas. That's the thing. It's not that we're better at home than Dallas. I think we are better than Dallas. And so if we lose to them, if we just can't sweep them once in our lives, after a huge loss against San Fran, all the motivation backs on the wall that you could imagine for the Eagles, you don't come out and take care of business against a team that you are better than, then it's going to have me questioning a lot. I don't know.
I hear you. I think it's definitely fair to internally consider it a must win. But I guess my point is, if you were to pose the question this way, who needs to win more?
Fair.
It would be the Dallas Cowboys.
Agreed. Yeah.
So that's when you kind of sit back and go, is it a must win then? But, if you want to internally think.
It's the other rebuttal, and once again, it is internal.
Yeah.
But it's it shouldn't matter if Dallas needs it more. We need it.
Correct. We
need it, so we'll take it. You know what I mean?
I have Super Bowl aspirations. I don't care what their aspirations are. Go get it done. It comes back to this, man. It comes back to what you opened with making Tony Pollard and their rushing attack beat you, making them stay patient, prove that they can run the ball up and down the field and not want to take a shot and not want to try to beat you through the air, right? Here's my thing. What concerns me with the way this Dallas offense is humming and with the way they're able to get after the quarterback, and we know Deron Bland with his pick sixes and the way they're able to turn teams over at times, what concerns me is that our coordinators are not going to win the battle. But the Eagles are the better team, to your point. The Eagles have
They see Bland last week against DK Metcalf, and they say, well, let's go pass the ball.
This is what I'm saying, man. Yeah. When you're let your stars be stars. And if they lose, well, then they fucking lose, man. And we got to rethink how much talent this team has. But I cannot stand to lose a game in which Dak Prescott throws for 350 and 3 touchdowns and no turnovers. He has a Madden QBR stat line, whatever. I cannot stand to lose that way, because you know why? It's going to tell me that Sean Desai sat back in his zone and, this comment, put Bradley Roby or Eli Ricks on CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and they get picked apart. Let your stars go be stars. Let James Bradbury and Darius Slay switch. I'm not asking for Slay to follow around CeeDee Lamb the entire game. Let those two corners switch on and off on him. Well, no other corner guards CeeDee Lamb.
Take that back, because Slay wants to talk all this shit. Well, guard someone, man. Fuck that. Guard someone, Slay. And I'm not coming at you with that. I'm going at Slay.
No, I agree.
I'm tired of him talking, and I get he has a podcast, but I'm tired of him talking. Tired of hearing him say Seth Joyner's name as if Seth Joyner is a nobody.
Seth
Joyner is an OG.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hear that, dude.
Yeah, listen, we can think whatever we want.
You were in that game.
Right.
No, Lenore is a good tackler for the San Francisco 49ers. He put a fucking helmet on Swift and laid him out, made him feel him, made the Eagles receivers feel them. Why was A.J. Brown so frustrated with Ward? A.J. Brown had a great day in the air. He had 116 yards. He's frustrated because he kept getting hit in his mouth.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about. But Slay,
we can think whatever we want.
Let the team no.
At the end of the day, we can think whatever we want about Seth Joyner, the analyst and the media personality, and his takes are wild sometimes, and the network he's on is wild and ridiculous. But to call him buddy in a tweet, to say some guy, Seth Joyner, hey, bro, you're here because Seth Joyner was here before you.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stand that. And Slay's not a rookie. Slay's not a young dude anymore. I can't stand when younger athletes and younger stars just show zero fucking respect for the dudes before them.
Yeah.
Like you said OG. Like, Seth Joyner is one of the best Eagles linebackers to ever suit up. And you said some dude named Seth Joyner. And meanwhile, you know what else I couldn't stand about that little clip from his podcast, mind you? Your defense allowed 6 straight touchdowns.
Yep.
And you went on and said, I thought I had a good game. I thought I tackled well. I had this many tackles. I made that. Your unit that you're leading got its fucking teeth knocked out.
Yeah, that tweet.
Yeah.
Like,
you know,
dude,
like,
your name is Darius.
Right. Darius.
Your name is Darius, bro. Like, your name is Darius. Your name was not Slay, dog. Like, grow up, dude.
Not you, bro. Not you. Not you.
Like, yeah, not D-Rab. Nah, he knows his name. That's Darius. Like, no, man, you're not Slay. Slay, big plays. Slay makes big plays.
Yeah.
Big play. Yeah, you don't say Slay without big play. Otherwise, it don't mean nothing.
Fuck that.
Man.
Seriously, dude. Listen, you go out Sunday night and you make us eat our words right here, and you take one back to the house off Dak. You pull a Brandon Boykin in the fourth quarter with a minute and a half left and intercept Dak over the middle. You did above and beyond your job, my man. And I'll go back to calling you Slay.
And you know the other thing you mentioned about him saying I. You had such a great game, but a person that truly holds the room and holds themselves accountable would sit back and acknowledge that he gave up 3 receptions in the game. It was only for 30, 33, 32 yards total.
Yeah.
All 3 were first downs, the difference in the game on third downs. That's the difference. When you sit back and you look in the mirror, all he sees is 5 tackles. I got 5 tackles. I only gave up 30 yards receiving. No. Hold yourself accountable. That's the only type of I that I want to hear out of a team after they lose, man.
Yeah.
Is I fucked up.
For sure.
Like, that's what I want to hear when you say
6 straight touchdown drives.
He could have stopped. Of a game you had. You gave up fucking 6 touchdowns straight and 42 points.
Right.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I agree, man.
It's
that's definitely it's going to be a key for us on Sunday night's pregame show. So I'm not going to dive too much into the conversation now. But third downs on defense, I mean, we saw what Dak did to us the first time around, but the Eagles have given up by far the most third down completions over the last 5 or 6 games, I believe, going back to the Miami or the Washington game before Dallas. They've given up over 60% of first downs on third down attempts, Scotty. Over 60%, bro. And by the way, it don't matter if it's 3rd and half a yard or 3rd and 19. Quarterbacks are picking it up.
Yeah. No doubt. It's the most uncomfortable feeling in the world when, 3rd and 12 comes up. Because
exactly. Because
I would rather than get the first down on like 3rd and 3 than get it on 3rd and 12. Like 3rd and 12, I'm okay. Our defense is about to get embarrassed here.
Listen, that's the issue right now, and the lack of confidence you have in the secondary at the moment. Because Scotty, man, it doesn't even matter if on second down, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10, they sack the QB and it's 3rd and 30 because now, like, you know what I mean? Normally that's a big time play. Now you're behind the sticks. Great, blah, blah, blah. Now, you know how I sit there after that play? Oh shit. Are we going to get off the field? And that shouldn't be the case with this many playmakers. Yeah, he did throw.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I don't know about Slay. He needs to prove something this week and the rest of this season. Quite honestly, he needs to prove something.
So I agree with this, But the other side of this conversation here is this is where running the ball and the offense has to come into play. Sustaining drives, picking up first downs. And again,
You're
the
tired.
formula in which you play call, man, incompletion on first down, 2nd and 10 run, you're going to punt within 2 minutes.
But not only that, like he said, it's like against the Bills, yeah, you guys played 97 snaps. You went into overtime. That's because you gave up 34 points. Like, let's look in the mirror. Like, nobody needs to feel bad for you because you went into overtime because you couldn't get a stop against Josh Allen. Like, blame yourself. You need to get home.
That example wasn't the offense not holding their own, right, and giving the ball back immediately. The 49ers game is an example, right? The 49ers game is, okay, the defense plays an 11-play drive. They get scored on. The offense comes out, holds the ball for 85 seconds, and then they're right back on the field, so on and so forth for 4 quarters. The Bills game, you might have been on the field for 10, 11, 12 plays and gave up a touchdown, but then the offense was running 8, 9, 10 plays for touchdowns. Yeah. So that was a look yourself in the mirror scenario right there.
Just completely backwards, man. Let's change the tunes this Sunday and turn some good music.
So to recap, we will be live Sunday night, DSM pregame live, Eagles Cowboys preview. We'll be giving you guys our game predictions, keys to victory, key matchups we're looking at. We're gonna, look at everything we've laid out there with a magnifying glass. But to recap, what they need to change from last week into this game versus this matchup versus Dallas, run the ball and run the ball differently. Get off the field on 3rd downs. And coaches, put your guys in a position to succeed, man. Give them an advantage pre-snap. Offensively, use some goddamn motion. Find ways to get your playmakers the ball. Defensively, don't just run out your same old scheme with your same old personnel, man. Because it's not, at the end of the day, it might be Nicholas Morrow's fault when he's missing tackles. It's not Nicholas Morrow's fault when he's forced to go one-on-one with Christian McCaffrey on the outside. That's on design. That's on play calling. That's an offensive coordinator taking advantage of what you're doing, Sean Desai. So either go to that 3 safety read that Scotty's talking about, either eliminate, some of your zone calls and go more man-to-man at times, press coverage. A lot has to change from a play calling and philosophy perspective, not just this week, man, but moving forward as well.
Yeah. And I think this too, man, just as kind of like some final notes for that game until we get to Sunday. Take pride not only in your role, but take pride in your teammates and protecting your teammates, having dignity, having a spine, right, to stand on. Take some pride in yourself. Hold yourself accountable out there on the field and hold yourself accountable for your teammates, man. Don't let Bradbury. It won't happen this week because Bradbury, for some reason, gets picked on only by the 49ers and their team and their group of teammates. But, like, if you see guys, rolling up on one of your teammates, how about you step in and you have their back for once? And that's really what I want to see. I think that speaks to what you were talking about earlier, where it's not that you have to go out here and, mandatorily win this game or go out here and you have to dog out the Dallas Cowboys at home. But you better go out there and show some toughness, show some pride, show some dignity, and show some bounce back from this past week and the shit show that we had to watch. Absolutely. So I think that is, it all coincides. That's what it comes down to. No doubt. Yeah, Terry's right. Hey, that's what the 49ers did to us, right? Hit us in the mouth. We swung. We threw a couple jabs early, right? Got 3 points, but they punched us in the mouth first. And they basically knocked us out 6 straight times after that. So,
I agree with that.
Terry's familiar. You got to punch him in the mouth, hit him in the mouth early, man.
I agree. Can't have red zone struggles. Can't, settle for field goals against that Dallas offense that is going to convert at some point. We like to mock and get on them and
they score.
What can go wrong will go wrong, and Cowboys going to Cowboy. And they did a lot of that in the first game. Even though Dak tore us up whenever he wanted, he steps out of bounds. The receiver gets, down at the half-yard line. They don't make enough plays, right? At some point, that's going to catch up to you. At some point, being down 10 or 8 at halftime, it's not sustainable, Scotty. And I think that's what you got a taste of last week versus a great team, is you can't just keep playing down like that, man, and playing from behind. So you have to come out early, smack them in the mouth, and just find a way to get the job done on the road versus a good team that's playing at a Super Bowl level right now, right?
Yeah,
And,
I think it's fair to say.
12, 13 home game win streak. See if the Eagles can put an end to that. But like I said, we'll be back Sunday night talking more about it, man.
Man, you know what? Actually, before we move on, Super Bowl level, let me just once again take a look at their recent opponents. Since
I hear you. I hear you.
Because I let me backtrack a little bit here, because these motherfuckers have only beaten the Giants, the Panthers, the Commanders, and their best win of the season against the Seahawks last week.
Absolutely.
But no, I do get your point, because they're playing really good football right now.
Because I say it that way because if they beat the Eagles,
yes,
we can't keep laughing
that
at
solidifies them as Super Bowl contenders if they beat the Eagles this weekend. But I just wanted to go back really quick.
Listen, I don't view them as a team that's going to win the Super Bowl realistically, but they're playing at a very high level. Obviously, at home, playing at an extremely high level. Dak's playing at a high level, protecting the football, making big plays, using his legs. We'll see what happens, man. We will certainly see what happens in just over 48 hours, actually. Since this is an afternoon show. Before we get out of here, you got the hoodie on. Might as well dive into it for a second.
Talk about them a little bit, man.
If you got a couple minutes. Sixers obviously return from action with all the in-season tournament stuff going on, which, by the way, has for the most part been fantastic. Obviously, the Lakers and the Pacers, the championship matchup on Saturday night. Yeah, I said mostly because the Pelicans decided to go down by 41 at one point in the second half and completely lose your bet and also kill my over because they just decided not to score the basketball last night. So anywho, it's mostly been great. It wasn't great for the Sixers. They obviously didn't get to Vegas. They didn't come away with a win in their group. The Pacers did that. But the Sixers did get to play the Washington Wizards because of just their standings in the in that race, right? In the in-season tournament. They come out, they take care of business against the Wizards. Very close game, a lot more difficult than I thought heading into the matchup with the way the Wizards have been playing this season. It did take 50 points from Joel Embiid, and it took all of them to get that job done the other night. But nonetheless, this dude was on another planet last night. I don't know what his gripe is with the Washington Wizards, but every time he plays them, it's not always 50.
Yeah, he cooks.
But there's some 40 burgers mixed in. There's some high 30s thrown in there. There's a lot thrown in.
I think it was that playoff series we had probably 2 seasons ago where Joel first matched up with Daniel Gafford. And I think, Gafford's energy, it can be a little offensive, I feel, at times to Joel, right? Where Gafford, he'll dunk the ball or like make a face or something, and it's like, oh, you think you're on my level. And I think it's one of those things for Joel where, you're not rolling like that. But
absolutely not.
I got 3 things from that game though going into tonight.
Hit me, man.
I do have 3 things for you. Just not necessarily keys to victory, but just some things that I would like to see better tonight, right? Obviously the 3-point shooting. That was horrendous. I think that's part of the reason they were able to pull away from that team. 8 for 27 from the 3-point line in that game. Just simply have to be better. You're at home, right? You get back on the right side of things there. The Marcus Morris minutes over Rocco. I thought that was a very confusing. Morris, when like a Tobias or a Kelly Oubre's out, I think makes sense. But taking Rocco's role in things, I mean,
11 more minutes, man. 11 more minutes.
4 minutes for Rocco, right? It's the least he's seen since he came over in that trade. And the only thing I would say is, what did Rocco do to earn that? And what did Marcus Morris do to earn the uptick? So that just my only beef there with that. And then I think the biggest thing that we take away from that game and from the game before as well against the Celtics is Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Can you give us anything, like, at all? Give us a pulse. 6 points in that game, man.
Yeah, sure did. 6 points. 3 of 9 shooting in 35 minutes. Obviously, the volume wasn't there on a night like that night versus Tobias Harris. But obviously we had this conversation Wednesday morning about what to do moving forward. And Tobias kind of has this month and a half to 2 month little trial run here to wrap up possibly his Sixers tenure.
Yeah. That's a good way to
He's
put
been
it.
a mess as of late, man. And you know what bugs me the most about Tobias Harris? We say it all the time, but it's up here. The problem is it's visible on the court.
Always.
The other night, like I said, the volume wasn't there. He only took 9 shots. I could count probably 4 or 5 times Tobias Harris caught a swing pass on the wing, had an open look, and decided not to shoot it. He hesitated, he passed or put the ball on the floor and settled for a contested mid-range jump shot. A worse shot than he would have gotten in the first place, open from the wing or in the corner. He's clearly in his own head right now. And I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
Marshawn Lynch, man. I'm telling you, man. Got the Boston Strangler and the crumble cookie. My God, the difference.
It's a problem right now, Scotty. And obviously they won the game. But, you know, Tobias Harris in the beginning of the season, seeing him shooting, 60+%, which isn't sustainable. I know everyone knows that, but averaging 20, 19, 21 points, wherever in that range on efficient shooting, 5, 6 rebounds per game, getting involved. He's a perfect glue guy. Tobias Harris at that level elevates this team's ceiling around Maxey and Embiid and all the role players.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris right now is just playing like another role player.
Yeah.
And whether it's his fault or Elton Brand's fault, he makes too much money to play like just another role player. And guess what, man? It ain't a good other role player. It's a struggling role player right now, like that he's playing like. That's a problem. And it needs to be solved, Joel, Maxey, Nick Nurse, they have to find a way to get that confidence oozing back out of him because, dude, a confident Tobias Harris is great for this Sixers team. Yeah. When you see spurts in the second half against a Bucks team where he's backing down Pat Connaughton and taking advantage of mismatches and firing from 3 and he's dunking and screaming, that's a positive for this Sixers team. But the version you're getting right now, Scotty, it hinders this team.
Yeah.
Because to your point about closing games the other night,
he shouldn't have been in the lineup.
Right.
And that's a
problem.
And Kelly Oubre. It should have been Oubre and Batum to close out that game the entire time. And that's the detractor. And that's what that Clippers trade ultimately did now that we see the whole team healthy and on the court and on the bench together. Tobias Harris, when he's like that, is not needed. In fact, he should not be on the court. And that is a problem at his price point. Yeah. And that is why I think I'm over it. I think we've gotten to these points in the past.
I do feel you.
We know it's coming to an end by the end of the season. But I think it needs to happen a little bit earlier. I think
to your point, I know I said he's got a month or 2 to kind of get back to confident Tobias and help this team out and show his value. But at the end of the day, how many times do we have to watch this movie? How more evidence
before it comes back?
How much evidence do we need that we know it's going to be a roller coaster? Even if he gets, that roll back in over the course of a month, right? And he's confident. He's averaging 22 on 50% shooting, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Looking like
and we don't trade him. And then in March, he's back to this version of it's coming. It's going to happen again, even if he figures it out this month. So that's ultimately the issue with not pulling the trigger on a move, man. But I listen, I did see your quote tweet the other day about it was finally I saw a report linking the Sixers to Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah. And it's funny. He's on my mind right now as we were talking about this. That's who I would trade him for.
It would be perfect. It absolutely would be perfect, man. But with that said, we can crush Tobias for struggling, and rightfully so. But a dude that stepped up, man, really ever since after the first week and a half or two of the season when he was struggling,
I know where you're going.
D-Melt's been a monster for this team.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's shooting on the year. I'm being honest. I haven't looked at it before I brought this up, but what he's shooting from three feels like close to 40%. It feels like
it feels up there as far as like next to Maxey. Like Maxey's supposed to be this prolific, efficient shooter. Well, D-Melt seems at times like he's shooting it better, if not close to.
He's finishing in the lane more. He's finishing at the rim through contact at a higher rate.
He's shooting 40% from the 3-point line right now.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. And it feels like it too, right? Like it's not a false 40. Like really? Like that's
like you said, he's finishing layups, man. He's dunking the ball any chance he gets. Yep. Yeah. I said it the other night about Kelly Oubre, but I think that D-Melt is also in the running for it as well, but the third best player on this team. I think that those guys are in the running for it. You could maybe throw Batum in there, but he's not hitting the stat sheet.
Batum's not the third best player on his team. Batum's just like we talk about all the time, the fit, the 3-point shooting, the IQ, the entry passes to Joel, the defense.
If we give Tobias's minutes to Kelly Oubre, what does that turn into? Maybe that does turn into 22 per game from Kelly Oubre, rather. Right. He gets Tobias's shots and his minutes. What does that look like? I'm curious. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's too much for Kelly Oubre. I don't know. But it just makes you wonder.
It does.
Because it's hard to be as bad as Tobias is sometimes. It's hard to be that bad. Like, I'm serious, man. Like,
I feel it.
The skill that he has, like the talent that he does have, it's hard to be that bad on a basketball court. It's crazy.
It really is. And I think that's the most frustrating part about it is like I can sit here and I can talk about how, how he looks mentally frustrated and he's not confident out there. Well, there's two issues with that, right? This isn't Tobias Harris as a fourth option in Doc Rivers' system where he doesn't know his role and he's stuck in the corner.
Yeah.
Tobias has more freedom. He has higher volume. He's the third best player. He's a max con. So Tobias shouldn't be that way anyway. And secondly, where was I going to go? That's a great question. I had a second point and just completely whiffed on it.
All I'm seeing in my imagination right now is Tobias Harris missing layups. Like that's what I'm seeing. Like I'm just revisiting these images, like laying the ball up.
You know what I'm seeing? Completely. Just an absolute line drive of a 3-point attempt off the front of the rim. Absolute rocket. Yeah. So my point, that's what I was
tired of ragging on him. That's why I'm ready for this to end. I'm tired of ragging on him. He's a great guy. Dude. I'm tired of ragging on him. It's time for this relationship to end.
Yeah.
And get somebody in here that can contribute. We need another ball handler, guard.
I agree.
Use him to go get one.
Good game tonight. Good game tonight to get back on track. Obviously, you won the game versus Washington. It wasn't nearly as easy as we thought it was going to be, but you get another test tonight against Atlanta. Are we in Atlanta or we're at home?
We're at home, and Trae Young is out, as well as Jalen Johnson. So
nice. Well, that takes away a little bit of the mojo from tonight's matchup.
Get right game is what it is.
Absolutely, back-to-back get right games, tune-up games to get Kelly's legs back under him.
Didn't kind of get right against the Wizards, only beating them by 6. So let's get right tonight and cover that.
Yeah, another opportunity, right? Kind of like the Steelers. Steelers had back-to-back games.
Oh my god, dude!
Get right opportunity.
God. I didn't know that they were.
You guys want to hear a joke before I wrap up? Kind of do this. I'll rag.
That's to 0.
Yeah, I'll rag on Dylan's on Dylan's gambling experience to end each show here because it's just funny at this point. Do you want to tell me how there were two in-season tournament NBA games last night, and there was possibly on paper the worst Thursday night football game we could have ever asked for?
Yeah, between
a Bailey Zappi-led Patriots team and that Steelers offense led by Mitch Trubisky last night. Two good defenses. You figure, the Patriots just lost 6-0 versus the Chargers. Do you want to tell me how I go 0-2 on the night on NBA bets, but I cash a bet on that atrocity in the first half. Now, I'm not complaining that I won money off the game, but it's pretty ironic and pretty frustrating that I lose on my much more confident placed wagers in better games with better players than I do on that atrocity. In the first half, man. Do you want to know what the bet was, too? If I told you to place this bet, I'm pretty sure you would have vomited in my face. You know what I took just because I had a weird feeling that they'd score a little bit? I took over 3.5 touchdowns in the game for both teams combined. Over 3.5 for in a game that the Patriots are playing in where they were shut out last week 6-0, and it hit in the first half. But I go 0-2 in NBA bets, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know what else threw me off last night as well, man? The fucking NBA game starting at 5, and there's like a
Stupid
4-hour window in between each NBA game. I don't know if they did that because of Thursday night football
Absolutely.
or what, but
Dude. And then, like I said, the Pelicans just decide that they don't know how to shoot the basketball anymore, so they kill an over that I took last night. Do you know I only needed 45 points in the fourth quarter combined to hit the over, and I didn't get it? Not only did I not get it, I didn't get it by 8. Missed by 8 points in that quarter.
Yeah, I was on
to
the
wrap
Bucks
up
and
here.
the Pels last
To wrap up
night,
here, to
so
kind of spin
we're
it back in
definitely
the
gonna
Sixers
win.
direction. Do you know what I'm grateful for this holiday season and surprised at by the same time? Damian Lillard strikes zero fear in me anymore.
Yeah,
No, listen, he had a little streak last night where he hit a couple threes and it was Dame, and here we go. Dame's going to bring him back. There's a couple things here with the Bucks. When Dame struggles to shoot, and that's been often this year. He went 2 for 10 in the first half last night. When he struggles to score and shoot the ball, the Bucks as a unit lose ball games.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the same explosiveness offensively. He doesn't scare you as much in the half court. He's still one of the greatest shooters of all time. I'm not doubting that. And I'm sure against the Sixers, he'll find a way to score 52. I don't know. But
he's literally a cone when it comes to defense.
Yeah. What I learned yesterday through all my troubles, Damian Lillard strikes no fear of me anymore.
Yeah. And I think, when you look at the Bucks, it's like, okay, well, you got Giannis. He can't fucking shoot free throws. He still can't shoot fucking free throws. He takes like 15 fucking seconds at the free throw line. Like,
how is he allowed to get away with that still? It's like they focused on it in one playoff series.
He has the biggest leash in the NBA when it comes to all rules. The free throw line, travel, everything, offensive fouls. He has the unlimited leash in the NBA, man. And to take a step further, man, not just Dame, but Chris Middleton, too. Chris Middleton, to be fair, has looked a lot better lately.
Sure. I saw him hit a couple step back threes last night. He is not nearly the same player. Chris Middleton, the hope for him still here between those two and what he was that championship year. Chris Middleton was arguably the second best player next to Giannis, but he also kind of complemented a big three, so to speak. And that's what you were kind of looking at when it comes to Milwaukee.
Literally.
You want to talk about not fearing somebody? There's no fear when Chris Middleton has the basketball in his hands anymore.
Yeah.
There's just not.
I'm sure.
And I honestly, Scotty, I thought their role players would scare me more, like that they did when they brought in Campaign from Phoenix. I thought that was a great addition for them. Right? They brought in
Beasley's playing pretty well for
Beasley.
him.
That's it. Yeah.
He's shooting the three pretty well for him, but they don't have Connaughton right now. Yeah. I'm sure all of this will come back to bite us when we play the Bucks, and Chris Middleton will go for 25 or something, but maybe the Sixers.
But that leash, bro, that leash is unbelievable, and he did it again last night. And it's funny because when Joel got called for an offensive foul, I texted you and said if Giannis did that, it'd be an N1. But, when I watched Joel get some of his offensive charges when he's going down the lane and he gets called for offense, even when it's not, you kind of sit back and I go, he's 7'2", 300 pounds almost. Like, that's where it comes from. But then I watch Giannis at the same size and length do something even more athletic and more physical down the lane and get away with it. So it makes no sense for me, man. Dame's also, like, I know we got to wrap up, but Dame's also becoming corny for me too. Like, I'm sure you saw Halliburton hit the late 3, and he said, I know, he checked his watch, right? He said, I know what time it is. And then Dame said something about staying humble in your moments. Shut up. And then the funniest part was he also touched the trophy. You saw that video, right? When the dude was like, oh, don't touch it, it's bad luck. And Dame touched it like he was Rudy Gobert touching microphones. And then they end up losing, and he shot 2 of 10 in the first half. So,
yeah, and I mean,
Halliburton doesn't have to answer to Dame. That's the crazy part about Dame. And, we'll see how his career finishes out if he stays in Milwaukee or whatever happens with Damian Lillard. But, at the end of the day, when you see him leave Portland, I think you start to realize how little he really has done in this league. Like, as far as winning, sure, he can fill the stat sheet. He's one of the best scorers that we've probably seen. Dame time is a thing, but what else? What else do you have to show for it? And, when I look at Tyrese Halliburton, a young and upcoming player that's just having fun out on the basketball court, it's like, I don't need to listen to you. You aren't the running example of what I'm trying to be. Why do I care?
This dude, this is a fucking atrocity on the league. This is an atrocity, dude. Listen, I'm not talking
a basketball game.
I'm not talking about Lakers bubble Dwight Howard.
Yeah,
I'm not talking
Orlando
about
Magic.
2021 76ers Dwight Howard. I'm talking about prime Orlando Magic. Dwight Howard was maybe the most dominant dude in the league. He was the most dominant dude between Shaq and Embiid, right? Probably as far as
JJ Redick, Rashard Lewis, and Jameer Nelson to the NBA finals.
To the finals.
Hito Turkoglu, all that solid players, right?
Yeah, that guy.
But they aren't stars.
No.
And he took those guys to the NBA finals.
And he couldn't shoot.
And
it wasn't even like the dude. He's not like he's Embiid, dropping 50 from the outside in the free throw line. He was just that dominant. That's an absolute joke that he's not on the list. But is AD on the list? I'm pretty sure AD is, right?
AD, yeah.
Maybe this is a bad take by me. I don't know what your opinion is. Miss me with that. Anthony Davis was never better than Dwight Howard in his prime. Now, better, weird word, right? Because more talented is Anthony Davis, right? He can do a lot more on a basketball floor. But he's not better than Dwight Howard in an Orlando Magic uniform.
I'm just trying to think back. Because AD, the biggest knock for him is health. Right, and those first couple years.
I also think he's baby shit soft as well, so that's just me.
He can be. But I guess that was the bubble chip. Maybe that's why it's not sticking in our heads.
Oh.
The bubble, the Disney championship.
Nah, but I also, I'll put it this way, and I know it's unfair in a sense, but AD having one championship with a top 2 player of all time versus Dwight Howard playing in as many championships but losing with that team is almost equally as impressive, right? I get he doesn't have the hardware to show for it, but I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say here? It ain't like AD has a ring and he's been to 3 other championships. And Dwight only went to 1 and lost. Now, they've both been to 1. AD won in a bubble with LeBron. Dwight lost with that team versus... Did they lose?
Dwight was on that team with I'm pretty sure he got a
ring. He was. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Bro, yeah. So Dwight does have a ring. Exactly.
Yeah, but that don't count. That's not the same. You got to be the leader. You got to be the leader. You got to be part of the 2-star. If it's 3 stars...
A ring.
That don't count the
hey, a ring's a ring, man. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Same as AD's.
Yeah.
In the end, when you look back, Dwight has a ring, but nah. Not
Danny Green's a 3-peat champ.
Nah.
Yeah, he's got 3 of them bitches.
The reason that I contest it is because I think in my head, I'm thinking about the players
And Dwight Howard, great defensive player, great rebounder, was okay.
Sure does have two. I don't even know who that is. Got two of them.
But AD can rebound. He can play the defense, and he scores the hell out of the ball when he wants to. So I don't know. It's tough for me to say like Dwight Howard, but when you look at the resumes, I get your point. Like holistically speaking, how many rebounds, how many, what is Dwight Howard's defensive rating over his career, that type of stuff.
I also just think when I look at all-time greats and all-time players, there's a sense of fear that comes along with them.
Yeah.
At that point in time, you feared Dwight Howard.
Let me ask you this.
I never feared Anthony Davis.
Do you only feel that way, though, because when we match up with the Lakers, you have Joel Embiid? Like, if Joel Embiid was playing
I watched
Howard, I'm not fearing Dwight Howard against Joel Embiid.
Nope. Because I watch Anthony Davis play in a lot of other games, and those teams don't have Joel Embiid. And I don't fear Anthony
Davis. You're not giving AD enough credit. I get it. The motor's not there some nights, but that's the same thing with Embiid some nights too, man. The motor might not be there.
Some nights.
Brother, he shut shit down last night. He shut that shit down last night. That's what I'm speaking to. The impact that AD has can be that of Dwight Howard. If you want to say Dwight Howard had a better motor, I'm not going to argue with you there.
I'm partially just fucking around, but I do think that Dwight Howard should be a top 75 player over.
I agree with that too. I think AD aside, Dwight Howard definitely from my era of watching basketball, my lifetime so far, Dwight Howard is definitely a top 5 center.
There's a bad list.
Player, excuse
me. Bad list. Damian Lillard's on it. I mean, what are we doing?
Damian Lillard is a questionable one, man. Maybe I'm just hating on him. Maybe I'm hating.
I definitely am.
He didn't trade,
and I wanted him for Tyrese Maxey a year and a half ago.
Yeah, but
that's
I don't know. I think Dame has. I don't know.
I don't know if he's ever led the league in scoring. It's great.
He averaged like 33 last year, but obviously he didn't play enough games. So
ain't that another thing that's crazy though? I know we are fucking rambling on here. So we're about to get off.
Going in on everything,
but Brett's going to appreciate this for that time that we ripped Joel, because we have had discussions in the past about how we take Embiid's greatness for granted, because arguably he probably is the most talented 76er we've ever watched.
Yeah.
Ain't it crazy that forget MVPs, obviously he's won one, he's top of the ladder right now. This dude's on pace to lead the league in scoring again.
Yeah. Again.
But a scoring title.
Averaging, close to 6 assists per game. So improving once again.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. That'll do. We had to bring it back around to Sixers somehow. That's how we're going to do it there.
There we go. Sixers get the dub tonight. Let's go.
Hour and a half in. This is where we'll leave it. Guys, if you're new to the channel, if you're live right now, if you're watching this on replay form, make sure to smash that subscribe button. We appreciate each and every one of you inching closer to our first 100 subs on the new channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications for every time we go live and or post a video here. We'll be live on the NFL Turf Talk channel Sunday morning. We'll also be live right here on this channel Sunday night. Eagles Cowboys pre-game live, keys to victory, key matchups, and game predictions. That's right. Get in the fucking comments, man. It makes the show better when each and every one of you
really
are in.
Does. Appreciate you, Brett, Marshawn Lynch. Really do, man.
Joining the conversation with myself and Scotty. For us, for DSM Media, have a great rest of your weekend.